I want to welcome our guests here. You are
Keith Fusek.
Keith. Say your last name again.
Fusek.
Fusek. I'm bad with names, but Keith is a lawyer, and he is your. Well, how would you say your political leaning is?
More left than right, but not quite in the middle.
Not quite in the middle, so you lean left.
A little bit, yes.
Okay. I think most people are kind of a little bit more. What's the word you would say that they're? Most people aren't super right, super left. They're in the middle. But what would that be?
Well, it's kind of like you described an independent, but I don't know. What would you say?
I guess we just have like nuanced views where it depends on what the subject is, right?
Correct.
How you determine how you feel about it.
Like I don't just go down to vote and just vote everything Democrat.
Oh, yeah,
I vote for the best candidate that's there, whether it's Republican or Democrat. I mean, I know some judges that I vote for that are Republican, and I know some judges that are Democrat that I won't even think of voting for.
I see what you're saying. I was gonna say it drives me crazy. I recently went down to vote, and everybody hands you like, "Oh, you're Democrat, Republican. Here's how we vote. Here's how we vote," suggesting that you're just gonna follow exactly all the points that they want you to hit, all the people that they want you to vote for.
The political ads and the pushing is out of control at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the days there's always somebody out there pushing their agenda. But today, it's just you're just inundated in every possible way there is.
Yeah.
And it makes it difficult to make your own decision when everybody's trying to push theirs on you.
Okay, I've got one big question. This is something I would discuss when I was in the classroom as a teacher, because a lot of times the other teachers would talk about how the other students, they're not the other students, the students are not mature, they're not paying attention to anything. But when it comes time to voting, they rush and try to sign them up to vote. And my whole thing is, do you want everybody to be voting? I recently spoke about it when I went to go do my early voting, and I was asked, do you think it's important for people to vote? And my opinion is, I think you should be informed first before you make a vote. How do you feel about that?
Well, I believe everybody should be informed. However, if you don't vote, you don't get to complain.
Yeah.
If you didn't vote and things don't go the way you like them, then you just need to shut up and sit in a corner.
I get that aspect of it, but
it's funny. The kids today, and I have grandchildren, and I have 4 daughters, and they don't teach the same stuff in school today that they did when I went to school. The history that people learned when I went to school, they don't teach a lot of that now, and you can see the same mistakes that everybody thought they learned about back in the 40s and 50s and 60s that we learned in school. You see them making the same mistakes.
Elaborate on it. What kind of mistakes are you saying specifically?
I'm not going to associate this with anybody, but look at the mistakes people made in the 40s following Hitler. He came into power as a chancellor. Germany had a president at the time. He was the head of a labor party. They grew more and more into power, and as people became more and more disenfranchised and upset with how things were going, he talked the president into initiating limited military rule or what do you call it?
Martial law.
Martial law.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be for a short time. The problem was that he was authorized to do what he did. He just never let it go. And I see things, and I see some of our politicians trying to push that way. And I just think that the mistakes that were made there, I knew, and I see every time some of these people talk, in Congress, I think to myself, this is how it began. And it's going that way again. I mean, are we going to be able to recognize our country in 10 years? I don't know.
Now, do you think it's being pushed more by the right or by the left? Now, as far as me and you, we're in the middle, right? But the reality is our country, most people, not I think a lot of people are in the middle, but the country, I don't know if the people are as divided as we think, or the politicians are they're trying to really exaggerate that divide, making it look like it's bigger than it is. But what we see on TV is a divide.
Okay, here's my thought. The Republican Party has lost itself. At least part of it has. And it's all been absorbed by Donald Trump.
All right, Keith, so you were saying Republican Party has become a cult under Donald Trump.
Well, the people that follow Donald Trump are like a cult. And the reason why I say that is that no matter what he does, no matter what he says, they say it's okay because whether it's they trapped him into it or he's just speaking. You can't look at what he says or listen to what he says. You got to see what's in his heart. What the hell does that mean?
But one quick thing, don't you think it's like that on both sides, though?
Not really. Look at, for instance, Al Franken. He was a senator. He was a Democrat.
Al Franken is a little bit different example because he is a Democrat, but he is a more reasonable, because he's not really a traditional politician.
Right, but that's the thing. He had allegations that were never proven. And what did he do? He resigned.
Yes.
Instead, Donald Trump, he brags about grabbing women's privates on national TV, on a show, and then says, oh, it's just locker room talk.
Well, here, let me push back a little bit on two things. You said that people following him are like a cult. Now, Donald Trump, I remember specifically there was a rally he did. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he was the one who pushed for the vaccine. He pushed that through.
Yes.
And he spoke about it at the rally. And you know what happened? His audience started booing him. So that's not really like a cult leader because they didn't like that part of him. And he booed. And, you know, Donald Trump's good at kind of just letting it fly. He's like, oh, it's okay. I never pushed it on anybody, but I'm proud of the vaccine. But they did boo him. Usually a cult leader, you would just kind of follow anything.
Okay, well, one of the things that Donald Trump did when he was president, that was one of the smartest things, which I thought was ridiculous when I heard about it, was when he said, we're going to go warp speed and threw a bunch of money at this. Mm-hmm. It was the smartest thing he ever did. He saved millions of lives by getting the money and getting these drug companies to get this done as fast as possible. When I heard him say that, I was like, oh my God, he's done it again. But I was wrong. Yeah. Now, the problem is that after he saved so many lives doing that, his other nonsense after the vaccines came out took those lives away. He took more lives away. I mean, it's just
I'm the full disclosure here. I'm not an anti-vaxxer type guy, but I do think that this is where we disagree because you think that's one of his accomplishments. I think it's one of his biggest blunders because it kind of gave the pharmaceutical industry kind of free reign to do whatever they want.
It's true.
Yeah.
But in the shortest time ever.
It was fast.
They got a vaccine that saved millions around the world.
I think that's debatable too.
Well, here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go to school?
Yes.
How many vaccines did you get before you went to school?
I don't even know.
You don't even know what they were, do you?
No.
You got them though.
I was also in the military. We were both in the military. We know how it goes.
Went down that line.
Went down the line.
And
I think it was like 10 shots.
10 shots.
And the last one was like the one that went.
Yeah.
It was just the gauntlet. But the thing is though, we signed up for that.
Right. Well, you know.
We weren't forced to do it. No one forced us to join the military.
No, but nobody forced anybody to take the shot.
Well, there was a lot of pressure, and there was a lot of talk by politicians of taking away rights. So that's another thing. We spoke on earlier. Another thing I wanted to touch on. You were talking about, well, you mentioned the Nazis, the Hitler, and things like that, and the way you were saying the way politicians are like pushing these. I guess authoritarian rules. And I know you're probably thinking more on Donald Trump, but wasn't there recently? Was it Biden's the administration recently? They had they wanted to make it legal for the military to shoot people who protest the government or something like that. What was that? You know more about it than I do.
Donald Trump that said that during the protest.
No, I'm not talking about what was said. It was actually legislation that happened recently.
Okay, well, legislation comes out of the House and the Congress.
Okay.
And the Senate. It doesn't come from the White House.
Yes.
If they pass it, then it goes to the president. He either signs it or he doesn't.
There was something signed that we're gonna have to probably talk about this some other time, because I'm not exactly sure what it is, because I've heard from other sides as saying that this was always part of law, but there was some changes to it, or it was something that we never used. So we're gonna have to go back to touch on that one. But I do want to touch on some other things though, because I think when we're looking at politicians, right, the way they speak currently to the public, I think that's a problem. Because I know, not to bring up somebody else, but I think it was Jordan Peterson that said that what he said was, whenever you have two men speaking to each other, there's usually some kind of respect there, just because we're animals at the end of the day. And when two men are talking to each other, there's always, even if it's small, there's always like a little underlining of this could be violent.
Yeah.
So you conduct yourself accordingly. And I always look at it as, if I get into an argument with someone the size of Brock Lesnar, I do not want to get into any physical altercation with somebody that size. Right. So I'm always going to bring it back to, hey, listen, we're having an intellectual discussion here. Like, I'm not going to fight you. Right. So the way the politicians speak to people, they almost sound like they're in a threatening tone. They're threatening you. Just like when Biden said that, this is one thing people took umbrage with, when he said, we were patient with the vaccine, but our patience are wearing thin. It's like, you don't speak to the public like that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate he says stuff like that, but he's always been known since he was in politics. He's always had gaffes that he said in public.
Yeah.
He just had one recently. But the difference is, if he says something wrong, he apologizes. Donald Trump doesn't.
Donald Trump doesn't.
He
apologize.
always doubles down. He doesn't.
Okay.
I mean, one of the things about Donald Trump that I've always disliked is he's not presidential.
Yeah.
He's not. I mean, he stands in the White House and he says stuff, in front of the podium and into the public that's just so crazy. And if it's wrong, you come back and you say it's wrong. I'm going to say things here that are wrong, and I'm going to hope I get the chance to say, to correct it.
Yeah.
But if that's the problem. None of these politicians can talk to each other, let alone to the public.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're not as old as I am, but I don't remember a time in my life where politicians were so bad. They were so awful to each other.
I've heard that too.
I mean, look at.
That's good that you say that, because I used to have a friend that, still my friend, but a guy I used to work with that was probably a little bit older than you, and I would ask him, I'm like, listen, when I was younger, I didn't see this stuff, so now I'm paying attention to it, and it looks bad. And I said, is it just me? Is it just I'm paying attention now that I'm an adult, I'm older, or has it always been this bad? And I asked him, and like I said, he's older, he's probably like 65 now. And he's like, no, it was never this bad. When I was your age, it wasn't like this.
I think it was during a time when, I don't want to blame it on him, but I think it started around a time Newt Gingrich was the Speaker of the House, and it just, politics changed at that point. Whether it was him or just the mindset, I don't know. But politics changed back in that period of time.
Yeah.
And I don't see, it's never going to change unless people stop voting for the same people.
Yeah.
If they continue to put the same people into their positions of power, they're only going to be emboldened with what they say.
But that gets back to what I was saying earlier. Do you think everybody should be voting? Shouldn't we encourage people to be informed more than just tell them to go out and vote? I understand that we want them to vote, but shouldn't it be, you should vote after this?
Yeah, but how many people actually, how many people do you think actually look at any of the pamphlets that come into their house from for political ads. How many actually look at them?
You know what? I don't think you need to really sit down and study it like it's a class, but put an hour, 2 hours just to look into something.
Me and my wife do that every time.
Yeah, because the thing is, I think most people just go and listen. I've heard this personally from my friends growing up that in Miami, I grew up down in Miami, and he said his parents, his uncles, his aunts, that they would go down and they would vote for somebody with a Hispanic sounding name. They would they go in there, it's like, oh, we got a Hernandez, and click check Hernandez. That's it. That's what I'm voting for because they sound Hispanic. They don't even care what country they're from. They could be Cuban, the other person could be Honduran. It's just, that's what they don't even know who it is.
Yeah, a lot of people say that they do that, and it's unfortunate that they're not voting for what's important, but they're voting for who they think sounds like them or looks like them.
Yes.
And that's not the case. I don't care whether you're black, brown, orange, green, or purple.
Identity politics is destroying everything, because that's all people push nowadays.
I mean, am I outspoken about my politics? I am, and when somebody says something that's really off the wall, it kills me.
Yeah.
I mean, a part of me dies inside because I'm thinking to myself, in 50 years, these people will be controlling this country.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to lie, like during this conversation, I'm being serious, but in my everyday life, when I have interaction with people, I do say things provocative on purpose just to get a rise out of people. I think a lot of people do that because you want to see where someone is, because I don't like when people are just too passionate about it, because it doesn't matter that much.
I've always tried not to be that way for the simple reason that I had a law professor told me once, and it's a little crude to say this, but he said, don't fart in public.
Yes.
I said, what does that mean? He says, well, you never know. The person that you flip off while you're driving or you're mean to on the street could be standing in line to sit down in a jury box that you're about to do a trial in front of.
Yeah.
So it's always better to be nice to everybody and be as polite as you can, and then just grumble under your breath when you're away from them. Mm-hmm. You ask my wife, it drives her nuts that I won't honk my horn. She has a running count of how many times I've honked my horn at people since we've been together for 12 years, and it's 5.
Well, I mean, nowadays, you're probably saving your life by not doing that.
Yeah.
It's rough out there. Like, I don't mess with anybody on the road. You don't know who's carrying a gun. And it's always the weakest people are the most dangerous because they'll pull out a gun and shoot you.
It's like always scared.
Yes, exactly. So I don't mess with anybody on the road. Just the other day, I was driving, and I don't know where this girl came from. She pulls up next to me screaming at me. And I'm like, hey. And she's like, yeah, you're over there driving your Toyota Corolla. I was like, this is a Dodge Dart, it's not a Toyota Corolla. And she's like, she's like, you were following me on the highway. I was like, lady, I wasn't even on that highway. And she just got mad and said, F you, and drove off. And I was like, first of all, I wasn't even the guy. Second of all, she's mad, driving crazy. I'm just trying to calm down a situation. Like, first of all, I'm not the guy. I don't know who did what to you, but I apologize, but I got to go wherever I'm going.
I understand that. My first wife was a real crazy driver. I mean, before she passed away, I mean, if somebody honked the horn at her, she'd be tearing after them, and
oh my God,
everybody's in the car, stop. And it's just horrible.
Yeah, and then you bump into the wrong guy. Yeah. But let's get back to the politics here. There was couple of things. I know we're jumping around here, but the Donald Trump grab him by that comment, right? He said it was locker room talk. Now listen, I've played sports all my life. I was a wrestler from middle school, high school. I wrestled in the Army. I jiu-jitsu. I've been around athletes. I've been to many locker rooms. And to be completely honest, that is locker room talk. That is how we speak. Amongst men, that's how you talk. And now, he didn't say it on air. It was obviously, okay, you could say he's a little silly for not knowing. The guy's been in show business for a long time. You should know if there's a microphone around you, it's on. You always suggest, whenever you're in the studio, whenever there's mics around, everything's always suggested it's hot, it's on. So for him to say that when he thought it was a downtime is silly on his part. And being that I also was a coach, and I would tell this to kids all the time, because sometimes they were, not kids, but like high schoolers or even college age guys, I'm a lot older than them, and not even a lot older than them. Even if I'm like 5 or 10 years older than them, sometimes I exaggerate. Sometimes I say things just to be funny. An older guy is always going to try to razz you up a little bit. And he was an older man. He was, who was it, Billy Bush, was it?
Yeah.
Younger guy. Obviously, he's going to kind of exaggerate himself a little bit.
Well, it's his position. He's above the law. Kills me.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no question. He said that he could walk down Times Square and kill somebody in public, and nobody would be able to touch him.
Mm-hmm.
He said that, and he believes that. But as far as I'm concerned, as an ex-military guy, the most un-American thing you could ever do is when you lose an election, refuse to give it up. Refuse to give up
The
power.
January 6th thing. Okay.
I mean, that's just, my family came here, both sides of my family, my father's and my mother's. My father came here in 1692. My mother's family came here in 1697. We had people who fought in the Revolutionary War. We had people that fought on both sides of the Civil War. And there's been somebody from my family in every war up to Korea. We didn't have anybody that did Vietnam. But I was in the Cold War before, that, and I had all girls, so none of them went in the military. But I have a son-in-law who's in the military now. He's in the Army. He's in his 18th, 19th year or something like that. I just cannot get past the fact that one of the biggest, most important things in American politics, and the only reason our democracy has lasted almost 250 years, is because our forefathers, who I've read it somewhere, I'm not sure if it's correct, I believe it's correct. George Washington was offered, rather be president, be our king. And he said no.
He gave up power.
He gave up power. And when he did it, Jefferson gave it up to Adams. Adams gave it up to Jefferson. Jefferson gave it back to Adams, even though they hated each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's what made our country strong and why our democracy is almost 250 years old, whereas other democracies fall apart in 50 years. Or fall apart when the person who, or the people, or the generation that try to put it together, when they pass away or they get out of power, it's the next ones that come in. It's always the greed for more and more power that kills us. And the one thing that has never been violated in all our history is the refusal to give up power when you lose an election. And even Hillary Clinton, it was so absurd. Everybody was so shocked that she lost. It was a sure thing she was going to win. She gave up power. Trump became our president. I did everything that I was supposed to do. I never spoke out against him. I put my head down when he said things that were crazy. But you know what? He doesn't do that. And that's one of the things that kills me when you see these Trump followers that are on TV, and I say they're a cult-like because no matter what he does, no matter what he says, there's an excuse for it.
Let me touch on the not giving up power thing. So I was watching that election. Okay, so look, there's no way for us to go back and change what happened or determine what happened. Okay, I was a math major. I know numbers real well. Taught statistics, right? Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that the election was rigged or whatever. I don't know what happened. At this point, I don't even care. Okay? But here's the thing. When I went to sleep that night, he was winning all these swing states. Okay? Like every single one, he was ahead. Wake up in the morning, and it was still, the voting hadn't started yet. I had to go to work that day. I was in the classroom, and I remember watching, just kind of glancing every now and then on the computer, and he started going, lost this one, lost that one, lost this one. And I was doing the math. I was, okay, he just needs this, and this state. Okay, he could lose that. Okay, he needs this one. He lost every single one of them. Now, I'm not going to say that it didn't happen legitimately, because like I said, I don't care. There's no way to go back and check it. Whatever happened. But look at it from his perspective. And he did give up power, as in, who's in the White House now?
But he gave up power because he was forced to give up power.
He wasn't the military didn't come and remove him.
No, because when he asked the military to go out and pick up the voting machines and stuff, they said no. But what will happen this time? Let's say he wins, okay? At the end of his 4 years, is he going to give up power?
And there's 4 years, he's gonna be 82 years old. He might give up his life.
Okay, but is he going to see?
He's an old man.
I mean, he just said, what, 2 weeks ago that people are never going to have to vote again if he wins? What does that mean?
Well, what he said was that you don't have to worry about because he's going to fix the country, which is, it's hubris, but every politician says they're going to fix the country. I mean, when Obama was elected, he said the seas would recede. I mean, come on, like, they say ridiculous things.
Well, he says some stuff that is really scary.
Yeah.
And nobody tells him to tone it down. That's the problem. He has no filter.
He does exaggerate a little bit. I mean, but I don't think anybody would argue with you about that. I mean, Trump says, it was the best, whatever it is, it was the best. Like my joke is, if he had a rally today and tomorrow, they would both be the biggest rallies, right? It'd be like, which one was bigger, the one in Florida or the one in Texas? They were both the biggest, But that's what he says. You can't fault him for that. It's just he's a big bombastic guy. He just says things like that.
Yeah, but he came in as president in 2016.
Yeah.
Completely unqualified.
Well, here's the thing. So that is a big thing for me. I think being a politician your whole life should be disqualifying for being a politician.
But you have to be able to know what to do on day one.
Well, here's the thing. What do they really do?
Well, here's the thing. After the election is over in November, there's a transition period where both sides, both the going in and the going out parties or people, have staff that meet and learn where the process is and how things go. His staff didn't do that till almost until the inauguration day.
Okay.
So that normal transition period that would normally be there to let everybody know what's going on, half the people he put in place had no idea what they were doing.
Okay. Well, here's my thing about government. Government has always been from the people, but we have now a political class that have no relation to anything on this planet, basically. They live in Washington. They go from...
You say, I think, are you telling me they can't relate to the common people?
Not even the common people. They can't relate to people.
Okay.
Like, I don't even think they're the same species as everybody else.
Well,
they say ridiculous things. Like, here, I'll give you one example. Biden was speaking one day, and he said that we have to raise the minimum wage. Okay? And I said, okay, cool, let's raise the minimum wage. He's like, yeah, it is ridiculous that we have nurses, the people that help us out, and EMTs, and they make $15 an hour. And it's like, Biden, these aren't people that make $15 an hour. How do you not know that these are professional jobs? You're not going to get a nurse out of bed for $15 an hour. She'll laugh at you. She'll say, have you lost your mind? No. An EMT doesn't get that much. I have a nephew who's an EMT. He bought his own house at like 27 years old. I mean, these people make decent money. Right. He doesn't know that, though. How do you not know that? He thinks that anybody that's not a politician makes $15 an hour. You had another politician that said, we could have all these guys that work on gas engines. We'll just have them work on electric engines. Like, you realize the kind of time and effort it takes to become a mechanic. You can't just say, well, here's now an electric motor. Have at it, you scum. It's like they think these people are just little monkeys jumping around. They have no idea what time, effort, and skills and intelligence it takes to do these things.
I agree. But you have to be able to think about transition somehow. Mm-hmm. I mean, at some point, we're going to have to transition from fossil fuels to some kind of other alternative power.
Yes.
They're going to have to. And here's another thing to think about is that government likes their planes. Mm-hmm. I don't know of any plane that flies on solar power.
Nope.
I don't know of any plane that flies on batteries because they're too heavy. Now, I know that you get drones and stuff like that, but they don't carry 200 people across the country mm-hmm. For that long of a flight. So what happens when fuel becomes so scarce, and they say it's like in the next 50, 60 years, what happens then?
Yeah, I understand there needs to be a transition, but here's the thing too. Again, going back to the politicians that have no relation to the world. They'll just say things. Now, disclosure again, I have a degree in mechanical engineering, so I know how to work these things out. they say stuff like by 2050 we're going to have a car that goes 100 miles a gallon. You're saying stuff like, why even stop there? Why not say you have a car that goes 5,000 miles a gallon? Because you don't even know that's possible. You have no idea what you're saying is even possible. Have you worked the numbers out? Have you even taken an engineering class? Have you even taken a physics class? Like, all there is a bunch of, not to insult you, but it's a bunch of lawyers that are really good at speaking, that are really good at convincing people of things because that's all they went to school for. But they don't even know what they're saying makes scientific sense.
Well, that's why they have different policy advisors for different things.
Mm-hmm.
And they're assuming that the people that are telling them stuff are correct. But when you get a policy advisor, I suggest you get one that's good at what they do. And a lot of times,
you just get another lawyer.
No, a lot of times you just get another lawyer if it sounds good. I mean, just think back. When I grew up with Star Trek.
Yes.
The communicators and the phasers and all that's real today.
Yeah.
Why is it real? Because when somebody made it up in science fiction, somebody said, God, I'd like to do that. And they sat down, and we have people that are brilliant that can do that kind of stuff.
But I think what happens in government intervention, it makes those things, government intervention never advances. Because look at the kind of things they're trying to do now that they're failing at. I mean, you've been hearing about that they spend, I don't know how many billions trying to build electric charging stations, and they got 9.
I'm not familiar with the
numbers
on that.
It was ridiculous. They spend billions because the thing is they put $9 billion and $8 billion is just to have a bunch of focus groups to talk about it. That's basically what they do. And then they put $1 billion like, oh, we actually have to build something. And then it's like, well, call your cousin because he owns a company.
It sounds like oversight issues.
Yes.
If we want to, I mean, like look at what happened with the infrastructure bill. The good things that happened. States are getting roads that definitely need it.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting bridges that were falling down and they're getting fixed.
Yes.
All these things. And here's the thing. Congress came together, both Democrats and Republicans. President signed off on it, and it was good for America. That's what it should be about. That's what it should be about, not about what I can get out of it. I think half the time politicians are just looking at, when I lose my office, who's going to hire me so I can go sit and do all these speeches and just make a couple $1 billion, talking. Is that the issue? I mean, I don't know of any politician right now that's in government except for maybe the Kamala Harris's running mate who's not a multimillionaire.
Who's a run? Oh, Tim Walz.
Tim Walz.
Yeah.
He's one of the few that's not. I mean, do you know of any other politician that doesn't have?
They're all crooks because they get out of office and then they make millions just doing speeches, writing books, and sometimes they make money while they're in office. I mean, it's
peddling their influence, but they use their influence after they get out also.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was one thing I saw. It was actually watching the Bill Maher show. I saw something where he actually called somebody and the guy just kind of like weaved it. Because he said that he wants to get rid of that from like politics. I forget who it was. It was a military guy, and presently he works for Raytheon.
Who makes radars?
Yes, I mean I was in the military. Raytheon made our sights for the Stryker vehicle.
They also made all our ships radars.
Yeah, exactly. So this guy's sitting there talking about how bad it is. Meanwhile, and even Bill Maher mentioned it's like, well, how don't you work for Raytheon? He's like, yeah, but I had that. He just kind of like weaved and bobbed and got rid of it. I was surprised he didn't call him out on it more. It's all just crooked stuff. But we want to get back to the current election. It's right around the corner. Right now it's Saturday. We got a couple more days. I wanted to ask you a few questions here, specifically about what's going on there. Let's see. So you said before that you were originally a Republican, and you didn't mention why you switched over. Is it because of the January 6th, or was there more to it?
I switched when the Republican Congress went after Bill Clinton. Because, frankly, I didn't think that was a disqualifying event.
Yeah.
And I also didn't think that he was the first one that ever had sex in the Oval Office. I know the talk about John F. Kennedy, right?
Yeah.
But to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on that.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I could see.
And what did they get out of it? They impeached him, but he was found innocent in the Senate. Just like
Yeah.
what happened with Trump.
I think I was probably like in the first grade. It's so funny because I was so little back then, but everybody, the entire country knew about it. I knew the whole story as a little kid.
Well,
Yeah.
I didn't actually go from Republican to Democrat. What I did was I went to independent. I was an independent for several years, and the reason why I went to a Democrat is because when you're an independent, nobody sends you anything about any law, any amendments, who's running for city council or nothing. You get nothing.
Huh.
And it's tough. So what I did was I joined the Democratic Party so I would start finding out who's running on different things.
Yeah.
Because at least you hear from one side or the other who the other opponent is.
Uh-huh.
You always hear who the other opponent is, their good side or bad side. It's up to you to determine whether what they're saying is correct or not. 9
Yeah.
out of 10 times it's not, but that's besides the point. It's up to you to do your own research.
Okay.
So that's why I ended up going Democratic, and I've always voted for the best candidate.
Yeah. No
I mean,
matter
that's
what.
like if Liz Cheney or Adam
Schiff?
No.
Kinzinger.
was on a ticket.
Crying Adam Kinzinger, really?
But you know what?
Adam Kinzinger, I am so embarrassed of this guy because
Why?
Because he's a war hero. He was a pilot.
Right?
I don't know if he's a war hero, but I mean he's a pilot. I have a lot of respect for his military service and being a pilot and things like that. Because when I saw he was military, I thought he was one of these fake military guys that just went in, put the uniform on just to be a politician. I looked it up and I was like, oh my God, this guy was actually a pilot. I think he actually flew war missions, like flying guys in and out. And he's over there crying about the January 6th thing, saying you won. Won what? What did you win? There was no battle. I mean, come on, man. I was disappointed.
Well, he was willing to stand up to say it was wrong. It's
fine to say it's wrong, but to act like it was that.
Said it was wrong.
But to look at a guy who he was talking to a Capitol Police guy that was a former military guy, and this guy saying this is the worst thing he's ever seen. It's like you're in war and you're saying a bunch of geriatrics swinging canes around or whatever is worse than fighting.
Yes,
terrorists out there. Like, come on.
I realize that, but it's one of the worst things you've ever seen in politics.
In politics, but not in your life.
This is not some place in South America where they have dictators that make all their opposition disappear. It's not like Putin, who has an election every 4 years.
But to equate those two, that's like I've been in the cage doing jiu-jitsu and all this wrestling. Imagine in the classroom one day some 12-year-old girl comes over and tries to like punch me, and I'm in the principal's office crying, saying this is the scariest day of my life. He would laugh me out of the office. Like, wait a minute, didn't you just get into a cage match with some black belt jiu-jitsu guy? Like, yeah, but sir, you don't understand. I didn't expect it in my classroom. Okay.
Well, I think what you need to consider is that perhaps he was only speaking as to politically, never seen anything that bad.
Yeah.
For me, when I was in the military, and I don't know about you, we were in a different time, but the thought of a civil war in this country was so absurd to me because the military was so integrated.
Yeah.
And the country was so integrated with people who from California live in New York, and New York lives in Texas, and I mean everybody lives everywhere.
Yeah.
But I have concerns. I really do.
I think a lot of people have concerns now. It's too divided.
Yes.
Okay.
And I didn't think that could ever be possible to this extent.
Oh.
And
We'll have to touch on that later.
And when did that start, though? It was like right before Obama.
Right before Obama had started, you would say?
I would say, yeah.
Do you think Obama made it worse?
No, I don't think it's that. I think it just picked up steam. I mean, it was always present. Like I said, from the '90s, it was always present. I just think from that point on, the fact that he was black, that was a trigger point, and from that point, I think it just got worse and worse and worse until it just, it steamrolled everywhere.
So it got worse, but I think, to be controversial, the fact that we constantly try to make history, it kind of tells me the president is not a real job. Because if you're just looking at pure numbers wise, if you're constantly looking for a minority, a this, a that, just to fill this role, it's kind of telling me the role is not a serious role. Because you go into a job, think about it, we always talk about construction. Construction has like 99% men, right? Because you need a certain strength, endurance, just to do this job. And not to say that if it was 0 women, I would say, hey, you guys, not a single woman came out. You find women here and there, right? But they kind of fit that role.
Yeah.
But to fit that role is mostly men. Some women, but mostly men. Now, if I walk into a construction site and I see 90% women, I'll say, you guys don't really do anything, do you? You guys don't really build anything. Because, I mean, even at my age, I'm not super old, but I'm not out there shoveling, concrete and stuff, because I'm just not there yet. You need 25-year-old man that's got, full strength and endurance to be able to do that job. You're not going to find a bunch of women to do that. It's just not going to happen. So if I see a construction site with a whole bunch of women there, I'm going to say, you guys aren't a real construction site. I mean, not to be insulting. So when you see a presidency where it's like, oh, we got the first Asian American, it's like, we got the first, half Chinese wheelchair president. It's like, this is not a real job, is it?
Well, I think it's going to change. I think we're moving towards change where it will be. And here's the thing. When I was in the Navy in the 80s, there were 2 ships in the whole Navy in which women could be on.
Yeah.
And they were non-combatants. Today, every ship, submarines, everything.
Submarines just recently.
Just recently.
Yes.
Everything is integrated now. I mean, and back then, I
think it's a bad idea.
Why?
You want to mix in a sub a bunch of young people in their prime, good shape on a sub. That's going to cause a lot of issues.
Well, there's a lot of issues. There were a lot of issues anyway. When I was in boot camp, I went to Orlando.
See, I was infantry, so
I was in Orlando, and that's the only place that they used to do boot camp for girls, for women, not girls, but women.
Yeah.
And while I was there, and it was not like the first time, 2 people that were on watch, a boy and a girl, took upon themselves to have some fun on the roof while they were on watch and got caught. So it's not something that's new.
Yeah.
Really
we understand, but we try to minimize it.
Right. They try to minimize it, and you know what? It really didn't work. There was always a way.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was I was in Beirut in 1983, and at one point we had gone off the coast of Haifa, and we were tied along a ship called the Puget Sound. Women were on board. The hanky-panky that happened that 4 days that they were there, people were making money renting the boats so people had private rooms to go to.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, that's never going to change.
Yeah.
But, what can you say? I mean, I don't think it's any worse on a sub than it is on a regular ship, because I mean, you have just as much confinement. The only thing, you get to walk outside and breathe some regular air.
Yeah.
On a submarine, it's not like they have hot bunks anymore where they're switching. Somebody goes on watch and somebody else gets in the bunk.
Mm-hmm.
They all have their own rooms. Women have their own barracks or areas, and men have their own. So I mean, I think that the integration is great, because otherwise.
But the thing is, though, here's the integration is. I would definitely disagree with that, because whenever you're trying to, here's what happens. So a long time ago, women were never infantry, and then even when I was in the military, there was no infantry women. I'd never even seen a woman in basic training, and they started trying to do that. I'm not sure, been a while now, maybe like 5 years ago they started doing that. So, and then they wanted women to be, I think, not Navy SEALs, I think it was Rangers, right? So they had like 1,000 women go through like Ranger training. And I think one of them made it through, maybe 2. And so Congress came back and said, well, we need to change the standards.
That's where it gets wrong.
Yes.
The standard is the standard. You can't make it different for men and for women. It just doesn't work.
But that's what happens with Congress, because they don't care about anything other than we need to fill a quota.
You need to have a number.
Yeah. We need to get, it's like we got to have at least, let's start off with 10 women. It's like, well, sir, one pass. Well, just get 9 more in there.
Yeah, but here's the thing. With the SEAL training, it's got, 80% attrition rate?
Yeah.
80%? I mean...
Most men can't make it.
No.
So if most men can't make it, if you look at a normal distribution and you get out to the end, you're going to have like 0 women out there. There's probably like 1 or 2 women on the planet, and they're probably doing Olympic sports. It's like you're not going to find them in the military. I mean, if you're a woman at that fitness level, you're probably a professional athlete. You're a WNBA player, you're in the Olympics or something. So the chance of you finding that random girl that just joined the military that's going to make it to SEAL training, one in 7 billion, so 1 on the planet.
Come on, have you seen G.I. Jane?
I also saw Superman too. I'm not jumping off a building. All right, so we got the switch thing down. Another big question. Okay, so we know we're against Trump. Okay, let's say Trump didn't exist. Let's say it was Adam Kinzinger running on the Republican ticket, but you still want to vote for Kamala. What's the reason for Kamala? Give me reasons for Kamala where you'd vote for her over somebody else. Not because of Trump is bad, but why is she good?
If it was Kamala and...
Okay, let's say not Kinzinger, because you like Kinzinger.
I was going to say, I vote for Kinzinger.
Let's say Kamala. You just have to tell me why Kamala is good for the country.
Well...
Oh, sorry, Kamala.
Kamala.
I am Indian, so I should be able to say that.
I think that she's not going to change things radically.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. Under Obama, the economy stabilized after the crash.
Okay.
Economy stabilized. America got back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
Trump came in, and it was very disruptive. He took over an economy that was running really well, and by the time he was done, when Biden took over, it was a mess. Things are working well now. I mean, I know people are saying they're not making as much money as they did before. They're not, doing as well as they did before. But here's my problem. I paid more taxes last year than Jeff Bezos. That doesn't work for me. Mm-hmm. There's not enough tax base for everybody to do what needs to be done if you're only going to tax middle class and lower class and let people who make billions of dollars a year not have to pay taxes. I just don't know how destabilizing it would be to have Donald Trump. The bill that changed the tax code it has a sunset on it. It's about to expire.
Mm-hmm.
If he gets back in and he has a Republican Congress and a Republican Senate, he's going to reenact that bill. That's going to be very bad for this country. Our grandkids have to foot the bill for what that bill does, what that tax code does. That means every year he made $5 trillion worth of debt in his 4 years, which was...
Wasn't most of that towards the end, though, because of the COVID thing? Because
no,
he started doing...
Well, it could have been part of it. But remember, Biden got it in 2020. COVID started in the middle of 2019, but it really, all the shutdowns and stuff happened in 2020.
Yeah.
So all that really happened during Biden's watch. And I told you, I already believe that, Trump did a good thing for COVID.
Yeah.
Did some stupid things too, but the one thing he did I thought was good. But if he destabilizes things again, I mean, I don't know why people think that they did better under Trump than they did. All his followers, I say followers because I consider him a cult leader, all his Trumpers or his base, they seem to be middle class. Never, I mean, you have his friends that are millionaires and stuff like that, but it always seems to be middle class and the lower echelon that think he's the greatest. But I just don't know what he ever did to help them. They say they did. They made more money. They had more money available. Well, Biden had almost, what, 8 months of people sitting at home not being able to work, and the economy crashed because of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's now 3 years later, and the economy's coming back. I don't know if Trump could have done that. I don't know if anybody in his cabinet, as wacko as they were, could have done that. I mean, and some of his people were crazy. I mean, oh God, I don't even want to talk about Giuliani. But I mean,
we'll have to have you on again.
can you imagine what will happen if Kennedy Jr. becomes the head of was it DHS, Department of Health?
Department of Health.
Could you imagine an anti-vaxxer?
Isn't that that guy? What's his name? Rachel Levine or something? Isn't he Department of Health right now? Now, here's the thing.
I know he doesn't have to know science.
No. Forget about the science thing.
Scientist.
But here's the thing. I think what you're getting at is the normal everyday people. They like Trump because, to be completely honest, hopefully doesn't get me in trouble on YouTube at the very start here, but Biden came in and everybody influenced him to put a bunch of, it looked like a clown show. You got a cross-dresser or a trans, I don't know what he is, is it Rachel Levine? Is it a woman? I don't know what, I wasn't paying attention, but when I saw that, I'm like, listen, this is the government. I'm used to a guy in a nice suit that speaks really well, or a woman. Huh? No. I'm saying I'm used to somebody that looks the part, and you have, I don't know what to say, mental illness and all that, which is fine. Everybody's a little mentally ill, but you're wearing it on your sleeve, and you're going to go out there and put this person in charge of health?
Do you think that Robert Kennedy Jr.?
I don't know too much about Kennedy
He's the one with the brain worm.
He's got the brain worm.
Who picked up the bear off the road and dumped it in Central Park.
Okay, he's got some problems, but the guy looks better. He looks the part. A lot of times, you know what? I tell people, I want somebody to look the part. Just look the part, please. When I first went to go work at this high school, and I came in to be a wrestling coach, right? And I was going to be the math teacher and a wrestling coach. The first thing, because I didn't have a lot of experience, and the AD, came to meet me to take me to go see the principal, and he saw me, cauliflower ears, thick neck, muscular guy. He's like, you know what? You sure look the part. I'll tell you that. Let's go. He's just like, I walk into the principal's office. This is our wrestling coach. He'd be like, yeah, that's the guy. He looks the part. Can you look the part, please? Can you at least?
Well, I understand that. I'm more concerned with whether they can do the part.
Well, look at the other guy. The guy that was supposed to be the head of nuclear waste. Another cross-dresser wearing lipstick. He got removed because he was stealing women's luggage. Come on. The thing is, when I see you dressed like I see how you're dressed professionally, you got a tie. Even though it's just your outward appearance, I can already tell you're a professional person. Not even because you could be lying, but 9 times out of 10 I'm going to be right? Because the person that takes the time to do that is the kind of person that thinks and acts a certain way. You see how I'm dressed, I got shorts on, t-shirt. You could probably tell this guy just does a lot of sports stuff, right? You could just kind of tell. I mean, I could be just a bum, whatever. Or if you follow me day to day, you're going to find me in jiu-jitsu practice, wrestling practice, at the gym. You're probably going to be safe with that guess,
that's
right?
That's the way I look all the time. No, really. That's the way I look all the time. T-shirts, shorts.
Well, there you go. So it's not 100%, but if I see you dress and act a certain way, you're probably. I used to tell this to my wrestlers. There was a kid, right? That was he was going to quit wrestling, and I said, listen, I'm not going to force you to wrestle. It's your choice. I mean, you're only 16, 17 years old, but you're almost a man now in society's terms, and you have to make your own decisions. And I said, but the big thing is, wrestling is not important in the fact that it's not important for your life, but being a quitter is important because nothing exists in a vacuum. The way you act in wrestling is the way you're going to act throughout your life. And later on, as a senior, he actually came back and told me, he's like, I remember what you said, and it was something I was struggling with. I was doing bad in school, and I'm trying to change out of my life. And I was like, that's just common sense. Things carry over in life. So when I see these people that they put in office and I see them a certain way, I'm like, listen, I don't know anything about this person at all. But what I'm looking at says something about you.
What brings to mind is that Congresswoman from Miami, the black woman that goes to Congress with the big cowboy hat and this outrageous outfit that she
who
wears.
is she?
I don't know her
Is
name.
she a Republican or
No, she's Democrat.
She's Democrat?
She just drives me crazy every time she gets on TV.
It's like, what are you doing? Yeah, did you see the thing with Congress, with AOC and Marjorie Taylor Greene having that argument at time? First of all, I forgot what Marjorie Taylor Greene said to her, but she was out.
Eyelashes and all that.
Yeah, and then you see AOC, baby girl, and it's like, oh my gosh, what are we watching here? What are we watching?
That's the problem with our politics.
Yeah.
That 20 years ago, that would never have happened.
No.
Ever.
Oh my gosh, I was just talking the other day. Somebody was saying that they saw the Kennedy speech, and I was like, yeah, I saw a bit of that also, and it just felt like I felt embarrassed to be dressed a certain way. I was like, let me sit up in my seat. There's professional talking here, you know. I was like, this is what the politicians used to sound like. They used to impress you. You would be like, if you're going to a speech, you would dress up.
Half the things that these politicians do today would be disqualifying 20 years ago.
Yeah.
They would not be able to say the things they do or do the things they do and get away with it. They would be gone. But today's world, for some reason, something shifted so much that they can say whatever they want and do whatever they want, and they just get away with it. I don't understand. And it's never going to change unless people decide to stop putting them back in office over and over and over again. I mean, it just doesn't make sense why they keep winning.
Yeah. One last question I had real quick. So, the Trump thing. I think you said it earlier, but I might have missed it. This whole talk about Trump being an existential threat, like he's going to destroy everything. What do you think about that?
It's not going to be him. It's going to be his vote, his base. And here's the thing. Here's what I see.
But what I'm basically saying is, if Trump gets in office, is it as dire as everybody's acting like it's going to be?
Not if he wins, it pushes the issue to the end of his term. What does he do at the end of his term? Does he die during it and we end up with J.D. Vance? God, that would be horrible.
You don't like J.D. Vance?
Oh, God. He literally made up a story about Haitians eating cats and dogs, and he admitted he made it up just to get the attention of the media so that they would talk about it. No, it's all on there. It's all online. You can find every word of what I just said on there. He told a reporter when she was interviewing him about it, he said, well, I wanted you guys to have attention on this issue, but she said to him, but it wasn't an issue because it didn't happen until you said this. And then it was an issue, but it's still an issue that never happened. So that needs, I mean, 2 years ago, J.D. Vance called Trump Hitler.
Yeah, he didn't like Trump at all.
And now all of a sudden he drank the Kool-Aid, and now he's, but he's looking at, Trump's an old guy.
He's looking at his political career.
I might become president is what he's thinking.
Yeah.
And not have to run. I just have to, wait till he kills himself falling down the steps or something. Did you see him getting a garbage truck the other night?
Yeah, but I mean
Trump, it's simple things
Trump
like that.
Is, he's old, but I mean, hear him speak. He's very articulate. Well, I
mean,
you wouldn't think he's articulate, but I'm saying he sounds the same. He sounds the same.
He never makes sense.
He makes jokes. But the thing is that you could have a conversation with him.
I don't know.
I don't think you have a conversation with Biden.
I don't know. He's an old guy.
And
I was not.
Biden's only 4 years older than Trump.
Yeah,
not that big a difference.
I wasn't really happy with the idea of Biden running again.
Ooh.
I would have thought that he would have given the reins over, and when he didn't, I was kind of not sure what to do about that. And it ended up working out better than I thought it would.
Well, with Kamala though,
hey,
they were talking about getting rid of her.
As long as there is no crazy changes, if she just guides the ship until we can have a new.
I would rather not have a president. Because
You're going to have one or the other.
I don't even think. No, I'm saying before Kamala, if they said, "Listen, guys, for the next 4 years, we're just going to kind of let it sail, let it coast," because I think if you have a ship that's out of power and it's coasting, at least we're still on track. We're still, you know what? It's like an engine failure in a plane. So
as long as it keeps gliding.
As long as it keeps gliding, and we say, listen, folks, we can glide to the runway, but if we get this other guy from the back that has no idea what he's doing, the other girl, Kamala, up here in this seat, we might crash.
Why do you think she doesn't know what she's doing?
Well,
she's been a senator.
She's been a senator.
She's been a vice president for 4 years.
She's been a vice president.
Okay.
So,
why would J.D. Vance be better when he's only been a politician for 2 years?
I think the fact that her own people, when she ran, right, in the primaries, and she had to drop out because she had no support.
During the
first one, right? Yeah.
2019,
right? 2019, yeah, for the 2020 election.
Okay.
So she dropped out of there. So her own constituents, the general Democratic public doesn't think so. When she was sitting in office, and every news people, the news, I mean, I'm not a big proponent of them, but they're on their side, basically, right? They're on the Democratic side. I mean, let's be honest. So when they started talking her down, and then when Biden was running and they were saying that she should be removed from the ticket, that says one thing. That's just on their side. Now, I listened to this woman speak, and she makes no sense.
What I see when I hear her speak is talking about hope, talking about, moving the country to a better place.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I hear. Whether she's ever going to be able to do that, look, we all know.
Now, to be honest, when I was asking you for reasons for Kamala, it almost sounds like you were saying that, which makes a little sense, that you want someone to be ineffective because at least you won't change anything.
I want her to be effective, but not radically changing things.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think
I don't think she has any ideas. I don't think she's dumb. Okay, so I want to say I don't think she's an idiot. I think most politicians are fairly smart.
She's an attorney.
Yes.
And she passed the bar.
No. I'm saying I don't think she's dumb.
She's okay.
I think most politicians are. I think they're smart, but they think they're smarter than they are. I would put them at the.
But they're also selfish.
Huh?
They're also selfish.
Yes. But I'm saying just pure intelligence-wise, because most people are like, this politician's dumb, this politician's dumb. I don't think so. I think they would put them in the 115 IQ range, but I think these are people that think they're at the 150 IQ range.
Next time you have me on,
yes,
if you have me on again, between now and then, go back and look at some of the speeches of 20 to 30 years ago, and what you're going to see is Kamala Harris.
You think so?
I know so. I remember those speeches that Clinton made, and I remember the speeches that Bush made.
But Clinton was very good at speaking, though.
Yeah, I know, but and Bush was not.
Bush was not. No.
But he still won because he used positive stuff.
Okay, yeah, that's manipulation, though.
No, it's not.
Because that was what Obama went on. He went on the hope and change thing.
And
it worked.
Yep.
Yeah.
But right now, those kind of speeches are not what we're used to.
Mm-hmm.
We're used to this doom and gloom that we got today, and all the rhetoric about.
But isn't that Kamala also? Donald Trump's an existential threat. He's Hitler. He's this.
Did that have to be because of the way he is? Have you ever seen Donald Trump do a commercial or an ad that was positive?
Probably. Well, I think negative ads are for everybody now. It sells more.
Yes, but that's not what it was 20 and 30 years ago.
Probably not.
I'll
have to go back and check. I have to go back and check some of the old ads.
Not as it is today.
Yeah, I would probably agree with you that even without looking at it, you're probably right. It probably is worse today.
Do you want to know how to settle all this nonsense?
Huh?
You pass a law that says that if you're running for, they spent billions of dollars on this election. If you're running for a national office, You get this amount to spend, period. You can't spend a dime more. You spend it well.
But
if
here,
you run for a statewide office, you get to spend this amount. Spend it well.
back on one topic though about Kamala not being well. Like I said, I don't think she's dumb. I just don't think she's not good at this. Basically, she's not good at being a politician because the Joe Rogan thing. Joe Rogan had Trump on, had a conversation 3 hours, great, right? Kamala wouldn't do it, but she went on. There's a Shannon Sharp Club Shay Shay. She went on there. I tried to watch it. I'd probably have to get Julian to punch me in the head a couple of times for me to finish that. I just couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. My wife couldn't do it. Father-in-law, he couldn't. Like nobody could watch it. It was like it took about because I was trying because sometimes I'll stubbornly watch something if I commit to it. I was in 10 minutes. I'm like I'm gonna watch it. I was a guy when I was in the army. The movie Catwoman came out, and I'm a superhero fan with Halle Berry. And everybody else was like, they were fans of Halle Berry. I was just a superhero fan. I'm gonna watch Catwoman. I was 20 minutes in. Everybody's like, I'm not watching this garbage. I was like, no, I'm watching it. I watched the entire movie, suffered through it because I committed to the movie. I'm gonna finish watching it. Right? It was terrible. So I tried to watch the Club Shay Shay thing. She was terrible. And first of all, her lies are not even. I understand they all lie. Trump lies. Everybody lies. Her lies are not even believable. She said she was with her nieces and nephew making pancakes, and it's like, lady, you're not cooking pancakes and bacon. It didn't happen. This did not happen. Like, quit making up things that did not happen.
You mean like, you mean, look.
I understand they all lie, but the lies have to be believable.
Speak for 5 minutes without telling 100 lies. I mean, that's just all there is to it. And when he lies, he doubles down on those lies.
I hear that stuff. And they say stuff like he told 50,000 lies in his first term. I was like, okay, for that to be true, you would have to every word would have to be a lie.
Well,
but you got to
remember,
hi, my name. He didn't mean that hi. That's a lie.
No. Remember, Trump was not like most presidents. Biden has only done 5 or 6 speeches. Or went to the.
Oh, you're saying the Trump speeches were long?
Well, no. He didn't go in front of the media. I think 5 or 6 times.
Shane Gillis touched on this when he talked about al-Baghdadi, and he went on a 4-hour rant. It's like al-Baghdadi, he died like a dog. It's he just went at it.
But Trump used to go down to the press room all the time and had speeches.
Yeah.
I mean, he did it all the time. At least
which is kind of cool. No. So to kind of wrap up a little bit, my big thing is I'm not big on policies and all that. I'm all about looking the part. And when he was out there with those other I remember the picture he took with some dignitaries or whatever, and they were walking, and Trump was like, "Hey, push that guy." He's like, "Hey, listen, I'm the president of the United States. You walk behind me." And when they were taking pictures, put his shoulders in the front. I'm like, that's our guy right there. That's Trump.
That was that NATO meeting.
That was a NATO meeting, yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this: if Trump had his way, would he dismantle NATO?
You know what? I would have to look into that more because I'm a guy that thinks that NATO is not even necessary anymore. But I'm more of a. I don't read books and research anything. I just observe everything. And I kind of take in information and everything runs through my brain. And I just kind of see what the logic looks like.
Well, let's look at it like this. If you go back to the history of Europe, they were always at war with somebody. Somebody in Europe was always at war with somebody else.
They hate each other over
there.
Oh my goodness.
Once NATO went into effect, there's only been what Putin's done.
Just to emphasize that, when I was I did a semester abroad in Spain, and our Spanish teacher here at FIU was actually from France. And one of my classes over there, they talked about European Union, and the guy who was describing me, he said it's kind of like, imagine like the United States. We have all these different countries, but we're all united. And I came back, and my Spanish teacher, who was actually from France, we were talking about it a little bit. And she said, "Oh, what did you guys learn about it in this class?" And I was like, "Oh, he mentioned that in the European Union, it's kind of like the United States, where..." And it started. She's like, "No, we would never. She was like, no, no, no. There would never be like the United States. The countries are different. We're not the same. And I was like, oh wow. She really took umbrage to that. Like, she was like serious. Like we're not like a certain country. I'm from France. We're French.
Well, keep in mind that when this country first started, we had the Articles of Confederation, not the Constitution. The Articles of Confederation, every state was its own country.
Yeah.
And they just had a weak central government that they could boss around and do what they wanted, but everybody was on their own.
Yeah.
And what's made this country strong is when the Constitution went in and everybody became one nation.
Yeah.
That's when it became strong. And I think Europe, they did it. I don't think they did it right when it comes to the European Union with the money wise. I mean, you had Greece that just sucked the money out of everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, that just, that's bad. But then, we have states here that drain, other states. Drain the federal government of money.
Yeah.
And, there are states that pay 10 times what other ones do, in taxes and everything else. But that's because of the way the economy is in that particular state and what their gross, product is.
They don't produce much, so then,
but it's the whole
together.
protecting everybody else. But remember, we started out the same way.
Well, we're getting far into it, so let's go with our final segment here.
Okay.
So I got some rapid fire questions.
All right, I'll try.
30. Believe that there's life on Europa.
Not enough evidence for that. However, I do believe there's life out there. You're a numbers guy. You said that.
Yes.
The odds of this being the only planet that had all the right stuff to make life are so far out there, there has to be life elsewhere. Now, the second question you have to ask, we are conceited enough to believe that we're the smartest life out there. Well, we may find that to be not correct. But I believe there is life out there, but as for Europa...
Time. Okay, very good. So you said not in Europa, but out there.
Yep.
All right, second question. We got JFK assassination. Do you think the government was involved?
No.
No?
No.
Why?
Well, first off, you would have to, in order for the government to be involved, you'd have to which part of the government would do that? The Secret Service would have had to have been involved to be able to allow, the security breaches that happen. Things happen. They weren't back then. The Secret Service wasn't as prepared as they are today.
Time. Good. You're breezing through these. All right. Most controversial question. Do you think there are racial IQ differences?
Not really. I know some brilliant people that are black. I know some brilliant people that are Hispanic. I know brilliant people that are Asian. I think it has to do with your upbringing. And it's not a matter of the school you go to, because it's a matter of what you do when you go to school. I wasn't the smartest guy in my classes when I went through college. But I was at the top of the class because, you know what, I was the most prepared. And that's what I think it has to be. If you go to school and don't put any effort in it, you're not going to do very well.
So more effort and cultural differences. Good. Okay. This one. Okay. Fourth question. We got our 30 seconds. And we want to get one good reason why someone would vote for Donald Trump.
Donald Trump is good for big business. Big business, employs a lot of people, helps the economy with that. I just wish that big businesses, when they make all their money, would flush that money down to their employees, and they usually don't. They say that, trickle down economics doesn't work because the person at the top just buys a bigger yacht. And if the big companies flush that money down, or let it flow down to its employees, then they could have...
That's time. So big business.
Change it a little bit, but...
Yeah. All right. Last question. What is the secret to success?
The secret to success, in my mind, is always be moving forward, self-confidence, have a goal, set your goals, and go toward those goals. I learned that in the military. Military taught me that if you're self-confident and you know what your goals are, you can accomplish them. Even if it's not, maybe if it takes you a while, as long as you know where you want to get to, if you keep trying, you'll get there.
Perfect. All right. So, Keith, I want to thank you for stopping over to the Eyes Wide Open podcast. And Keith, also, being a lawyer, he brought me a copy of the United States Constitution. So I said I don't read a lot, but I'm definitely going to check this out. So next time it will be a little more knowledgeable when Keith come by again. So thank you for coming out.
No problem.
All right, great conversation. All right, guys, it's Eyes Wide Open. Next time.